Day 3 is all about equation of a circle. So just to review, I want you to find the length of the segment below on the graph, and then I want you to use Pythagorean theorem to find distance. So remember, when we're finding length or distance, we use a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we draw right triangles, or we find our slope. So pause the video, do that now, and then check your answers. So for the first one, you should have got 5, and then for the second one, you should have got 10. So remember, you're finding your slope between those 2 points. So what happens if we graphed all the points whose distance from the origin is equal to 5? What shape is formed? Well, if I look, the origin, remember, is this point 0, 0. So if that's where I have to start, it's saying I have to go in or up 5, down 5, to the left 5, and to the right 5, or in all directions. So if I go up 5, there's a point here. Over to the left 5, there's a point here. Down 5, there's a point here. And then to the right 5, there's a point here. Well, if I connect these points, not including that starting point, now this isn't going to be perfect, yours isn't either. But if I connect these points, what shape does this make? So it makes a circle. Well, if it's going in 5 in all directions, that means the radius is 5. So you can't count diagonally, so that's why we only go up, down, left, and right when we count. Well, we have a formula if we want to know the equation of a circle. Just like for the equation of a line, it's y equals mx plus b. Well, for an equation of a circle, it is this. So it's x minus a and then squared plus y minus b squared minus r squared. So a and b are your center points. So because there's a negative in the equation, when we want to figure out our center, we're going to take the opposite sign. R, remember, is your radius, so we square that. So if we wanted to figure out what the true radius is, we would take the square root. So for this example, let's try to do this. So I know it has a center of 0, 0 and a radius of 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this equation here and I'm going to plug in my numbers. So that's my equation or my formula. So my A is this first value in the center. My second value is my B. Remember, my radius is my R. So it would be x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 5 squared. Now, if you think about x minus 0, that's like if I plug in any number for x, like 2 minus 0, 3 minus 0, what are you going to get? You're going to get always whatever number it is. So x minus 0 is just x squared. Same thing with y. Y minus 0 is just y, and then we have to square it. And then 5 squared is 25. So that means this is my equation of the circle we just drew. Let's try another one. So it says, let's look at another circle, one whose center is not the origin. Shown below is a circle with center 2, 3, and radius 5. So let's try to figure out what the equation of this circle is. So here's my formula again. It says my center now is 2, 3. And then my radius is 5. So again, I have to plug in these numbers. Remember, the first letter in your center is A, the second one is B. So I plug it in, x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 5 squared. So now I have to simplify that. So x minus 2, well, I don't know x, so that stays x minus 2 squared. Same thing with y. I don't know y, and I can't subtract anything from y minus 3. And then 5 squared is just 25. So this is my equation of a circle. Now we're not going to expand it or FOIL it out just yet. So that's for tomorrow. But That's it. So it's saying this circle right here, that's its equation. Let's try another one. It says write an equation for the circle who has a center of 9, 0 and a radius of 7. So again, if I want the equation, I'm using this formula. Center, the first letter is A, the second number is B, and then your radius is 7. So I plug in those numbers. X minus 9 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 7 squared. Now I just have to simplify. Well, x minus 9, I can't combine that, so it stays x minus 9. Y minus 0, well, anything minus 0 is just itself, so that's going to be y squared, and then 7 squared is 49. And that is my equation of my circle. Two more. So write an equation whose graph is the circle below. So what if they don't give you what the center is or the radius is, and they give you a picture? So here's a picture. It has my center point labeled as -2, 4. So that's my center. Now to figure out my radius, I count from my center to an endpoint. Now it doesn't matter which endpoint. You're either going to count vertically or horizontally though. So you can't count diagonal. So from the center, I go 1 unit and then 2 units. So my radius is 2. Now using that information, I'm going to plug it into my formula here. So we said my center was -2, 4. So -2 is my A, 4 is my B. So when I plug that in, I get x minus -2 squared plus y minus 4 squared, and then my radius was 2, so I plug in 2 for r. Now if we take a look at our x minus -2, well, x minus a negative number is a positive number, so it would be x plus 2 squared, and then y minus 4 squared, because you can't simplify that, and then 2 squared is just 4. So the equation of the circle is x plus 2 squared, and then plus y minus 4 squared equals 4. Last one, what if they give you the equation and it wants you to find the radius in the center? This is what I was talking about when we take the opposite signs. So I know that this number here is my A, and I know this number here is my B. Well, what I want to do is I want to take the opposite sign of whatever's in front of it. So since this says plus 12, my A number is going to be minus 12. Now let's look at 4. So since 4 says minus 4, my B number is going to say plus 4. So my center is always opposite. When I given an equation, I take the opposite signs to figure out the center. For your radius now, remember this part was your r squared. Well, that's already squared, so to find the radius, what we do is we take the square root. So the square root of 81 is just 9. So the center in this problem is -12, 4, because you take the opposite signs, and then the radius is just the square root of 81, which is 9. So now I want you to try the next 2 pages, submit it, and then check your answers.